Good morning. Welcome back to Financial Issues. My name's Dan Celia. It's great to be here this morning. We've got a little bit of economic data that came out this morning. Some important data to you and I because it's CPI. It's Consumer Price Index. And Consumer Price Index this morning, and I thought I had the numbers right in front of me. Of course, I don't, but it wasn't that long ago, so I can think about it off the top of my head. Anyway, Consumer Price Index, when we strip out food and energy, because nothing else matters, that's the number. I mean, that matters. We know what that's done. As a matter of fact, though, when we look at energy, when we look at gasoline alone, has come down 1.6% since the last report. So that's pretty big. So we see a dramatic reduction in gasoline. That's why when you don't strip out energy and food, the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, is basically unchanged. When you strip it out, it's up 0.2%, in spite of the fact that most things, even in the stripped out version of CPI, has gone down, but food has gone up. So, and I don't know the number because I don't have the number in front of me. Let's see. Do I? Yes, I do. Here it is. I'm sorry. Little unorganized this morning. So food, if I can read through this for a second, has gone up by about 0.4%. So we see a 0.2% increase, and that again has been led primarily due to housing costs. Housing costs has gone up. Price on the two indicators, the leading indicators that they're citing is housing pricing and airline tickets. I don't know how many of us fly. I fly an awful lot, but when you look at those things, that is what it is driving the increase of 0.2%. But food also has risen. Consumer prices have risen to an unadjusted number of 1.2% over the past 12 months. By the way, 1.2%, that's great for Social Security. That's great for the military. That's great for federal workers who are going to be based on their hourly increase based on, or their annual increase based on that number. So that's a good thing for the government. So anyway, but the big number, gasoline down. There's a lot of interesting news coming out on gasoline. Maybe I'll get a chance to talk about it. 866-300-9298. That's our call-in number. If you got a financial question for me, we'd love to hear from you. 866-300-9298. Again, 866-300-9298. So that's the big number that's out, CPI number out. Some other interesting news that came out this morning based on some studies. People paying off their credit cards. People paying off their credit cards on a monthly basis. So you use your credit card, you charge up. I would fall into that category. That's what I do because I travel so much. I don't travel with cash, and I don't believe in using your debit card. Now, the reason I don't, particularly this time of year, because if that is stolen or if that is corrupted, and my credit card has been stolen 3 times just because I've used it, but I've been protected. You don't get the same amount of protection on your debit card. So whenever you go in a store, even though you use your debit card, you shouldn't use it as debit. Just on a side here, you shouldn't use it as debit. You should always use it as credit. Doesn't matter to you. You don't notice any difference. Still comes out of your checking account. But when they're asked, you want debit or credit, always pick credit. It's so much safer. So just so you know. Anyway, the credit card, people paying it off is the lowest it's been since 2009, or the highest it's been, I should say, since they're paying it off. It's up 7%. That's a huge increase. So people are using their credit cards. At the end of the month, the bill comes in. They're not even contemplating, well, yeah, I'm just going to pay the $17 payment. No, they're paying the whole thing off. And that is very good news for consumers. It confirms that, along with some other news, confirms what I've been saying way back in 2008. And I said this in the first 3 weeks after Lehman Brothers went down. I did 86 interviews in the first 2 weeks, following Lehman Brothers, I did 86 different interviews talking about the mentality of the consumer and talking about why this happened and so on and so forth. And for some reason, I'm not sure why, but I became this kind of go-to person in the Christian, conservative Christian media, primarily, although I did a lot of secular stuff as well, to talk about this. And I said back then, I think that the mindset of people are going to forever be changed over this. This is dramatic. This is a huge, huge issue. I said then this could take easily 3 years to get out of. Was I wrong? Because in my opinion, we're still not out of it yet. But nevertheless, this is going to take a long time to get out of. But more importantly, the conventional ways, the ways that the Federal Reserve, the government, other entities have been used to get us out of this recession are not going to work this time, because the mind of the consumer has changed permanently. And I think we're going to continue to see that. And this proves it, that here we are years later, and we still see these numbers of people paying off their credit cards going up. Now, the number of people with those, those subpar credit cards, in other words, if you've got credit issues, you may be one of those people that says, look, I got to have a credit card, which is true, maybe for emergencies. I got to have a credit card. And I'm going to go to one of these legal loan sharking credit cards where they're charging you 25% interest or more. And, you get a credit line of $200 and you're able to use it. And eventually you get to raise it up and so on and so forth. That is down dramatically since 2009. So people that have been in a position, this is what it's telling me, people that have been in a position to say, I need a credit card. I've lost my credit. I've had some struggles through this crisis. They're not even looking. They're just not even doing it. They're just saying, look, I'm going to get back to basics. And I think we see more and more people doing that. I'm getting back to basics. I am going to live based on my needs. And if it's not on my checking account, to write a check for it, or cash in my pocket to buy what it is I need, I'm not going to do it. And I think that mindset has changed. I've said this before, more and more young people, when I say young, I'm going to say 35 on down, coming to my town hall meetings. I mean, I've had town hall meetings. The last one I had people there. I had a young lady in Amarillo, Texas. I think she was 18 or 19 there. She sat through the whole town hall meeting. I had other younger folks there at other town hall meetings. And I'm seeing more and more of 20-somethings, 30-something people and teens coming to the town hall meetings because they realize we've gone through a crisis, because they've watched their parents, they've watched what's going on around them. They're smart enough to realize that they've got to get informed and they've got to learn. And I think this is one of the results of that. Now, that's good news for the family. It's good news for me to read this, because there are other people like me out there that are talking about the merits of staying out of debt, using cash, working on your needs, saving as opposed to spending, and so on and so forth. And we're driving that point home to finally get into a point where it's catching on in a dramatic way. And it could have a huge impact on families in the future. Now, if we can keep that in check, if we can keep our pride, our egos out of the equation, if we can take a house that we live in and say, you know what, I don't need to get a bigger house. This is working. It's working now. It's going to continue to work. If I got to build an addition onto it, I'll build an addition onto it. I'm going to keep what I have, and I'm going to try to get it paid off, and so on and so forth. And I think if we can keep that, we're going to be far better off in the future, and we're going to be better prepared for the next crisis. So that's very exciting. Here's the downside. The downside to this is one of the reasons, this is just my opinion, this is one of the reasons why the Federal Reserve has been so wrong in not one or two, but in every prediction they've made about the future of the economy and the impact of quantitative easing, of printing money. They've been wrong since they started. They've been wrong because they don't have the abilities. Here's the problem. An economist would have to get their nose out of the textbook, put their ear to the street a little bit in order to come up with these conclusions, which they are not willing to believe because they believe deeply in their textbook scenarios and models, which I don't know why anybody believes in anything textbook. We need more business schools teaching real life situations from people that have actually had to make a payroll at some point in their life. But that's another point. So the point being is they've been wrong in their calculations and their predictions because they've not been able to make this equation of what's going on in the hearts and minds of the people. I can do a much better job because I speak to millions of people every week and I have opportunities to meet them face to face. I feel like I have a much better feel for the heartbeat of America. I've said this just as recent as a couple months ago in reference to a governor's election that I was contemplating and maybe still am of getting involved in, not as a candidate, by the way. But I said, look, I believe that I can help anybody win an election. I believe that because I believe I know the hearts and minds of the voter better than anybody. And I think that would be a huge asset. The point is that people are changing. So the wealth effect, the quantitative easing has had little or no impact on the economy. So when I read the good news of people with credit cards cutting back, and it's continued, that's not good for the economy, folks. It's good for the family, and that's more important. It is good, though, and I want to make this point. It is good for the long-term effect of the economy. So when you are doing this, when you are staying out of debt, when you're committed to that, when you're committed to not using credit cards, and when you do use it, not to pay interest because you're paying it off, when you commit to that kind of lifestyle, and by the way, only buying what you need, and working on getting out of debt, and most importantly, committed to giving back to our Father in heaven, who has given us the opportunities to make a living. When you're committed to those things, you are making a step. You are doing something for your children and your grandchildren, not in the fact that you're saving money to leave them or anything like that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about you leaving them a legacy. I'm talking about you leaving them a stronger America and a stronger economy. Because the long-term effect of the slowing down in consumer credit, the long-term effect, and I know that politicians and the Fed alike do not like to deal in long-term effects. They want it here and now today. The long-term effect for the country is very good. So when I see these numbers, I get excited. Not too many people get excited over credit numbers, but it's good. It's good for America, and it excites me because it gives me some confirmation that people are listening. You know, maybe not just to me, but they're listening to other people that may be singing the same song. So I appreciate that. 866-300-9298 if you want to weigh in. Folks, I just want to remind you as we go to break, our Gospel for Asia Christmas Critter campaign. Would you check it out right now? Go to afr.net. Check it out. Make your gift that's going to have eternal value to impoverished people around the world. You, right now, get involved in the Great Commission. Go to afr.net and check out our Christmas Critter campaign. Financial Issues, I'm Dan Celia. We'll be right back. Hi, this is Dan Celia from Financial Issues. You know, I don't talk